Good afternoon. It is Friday, September 8th, 2023. Just after the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus performs another great miracle, but this time in front of everybody, he does it where only the disciples can see it. The crowd could infer it, but the disciples are the only ones who saw it. In Mark chapter 6, I'm going to be reading from verses 45 to 56, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition. It says, immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back in the boat and head across the lake to Bethsaida while he sent the people home. After telling everyone goodbye, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Late that night, the disciples were in their boat in the middle of the lake, and Jesus was alone on the land. He saw that they were in serious trouble, rowing hard and struggling against the wind and the waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. He intended to go past them, but when they saw him walking on the water, they cried out in terror, thinking he was a ghost. They were all terrified when they saw him. But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then he climbed into the boat, and the wind stopped. They were totally amazed, for they still didn't understand the significance of the miracle of the loaves. Their hearts were too hard to take it in. After they'd crossed the lake, they landed at Gennesaret. They brought the boat to shore and climbed out. The people recognized Jesus at once, and they ran throughout the whole area, carrying sick people on mats to wherever they heard he was. Wherever he went in the villages, cities, or the country, they brought the sick out to the marketplaces. They begged him to let the sick touch at least the fringe of his robe, and all who touched him were healed. What an amazing, tremendous display of power. First to the disciples by walking on the water, literally scaring them to pieces, and then telling them, take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. And how terrible, and then all of a sudden the wind stops? What an amazing thing. He starts this out by going by himself to pray. It was so important that Jesus had time alone in prayer. Makes you wonder, maybe it ought to be a little more important to us to have our alone times and our prayer times. He saw the disciples in trouble, and he went out to them. One of the biggest lies we fall for is the thought that we're all alone, that nobody loves us, nobody cares for us, nobody thinks about us. But he saw them in trouble, and he went to them. We are never alone. We may feel alone, but we are never alone. He always has his eye on us, and he always comes to us if we're in trouble. They didn't understand. They're still struggling to understand. He mentions their hearts are still too hard. Oh, sometimes it takes time to get this soft heart that believes like a child and has simple faith and can trust. If the disciples struggled with it, what makes you think we're immune from struggling with our lack of faith and our lack of belief when we know he's right here with us? He said, take courage. I am here. Oh, I'd love to hear that in an audible phrase. Sometimes when you're struggling and you're not sure what to do, and maybe you're just tired of it all, how precious it would be to hear his words, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. And then he hits the shore, and just the power of God is flowing out of him, healing people right and left. They just have to come by and touch him, and they're finding his healing power. His compassion is overwhelming. He cares for the sick. He cares for the hurt. And the best thing is, he gives us his presence. How precious it is to recognize that whatever we need, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, Jesus grants us his beautiful presence and lets us know we don't have to be afraid because we're not alone. May you not feel alone and may you not be afraid this week. God bless you.